Welcome in. This is Hype Factor, a Fantasy Critic podcast for all the Fantasy Critic enthusiasts out there who just can't get enough talking about Fantasy Critic. I'm your co-host, John, aka John32, and I am joined by my good friend Marcus. Marcus, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, John. I think we've got a lot to talk about. I don't want to waste too much time here. We got to jump right in. There is a lot of fantasy news.
Yeah, there's a lot of news today. And before we get into all of that, our topic this month, maybe a little dry, a little more accounting. We're talking budget management, specifically your waiver wire budget management. So we're going to go through talking about our strategies. Obviously, it was a busy month for Fantasy Critics, so we thought this would be relevant. And without further ado, let's jump in.
Topic of the month.
So, Marcus, yeah, this is an interesting one because I think, the big question out there is what do we do when bidding on a game, right? Obviously, we've talked about the waiver wire strategy and how people fill out their rosters, but like in terms of the actual dollar value, there's always that question about like how much of my budget should I be spending on any particular game? Obviously, multiple leagues have kind of minimum spends or sometimes $0 spends to pick up games. So why don't we start with kind of like a generic round question of what is your kind of general strategy, if any, when deciding how much to bid on a specific game?
So first off, I don't bid on games that I don't really want, right?
Correct.
So, but there's not really a lot of point in. I think sometimes with fantasy sports you can kind of like put in bids for players that you're like, if I get it, great. If I don't, it's totally fine. I don't really care that much. I'm not really doing that. I found, like, I was reflecting back as we're thinking about this. So I'm only really bidding on games that I want on my team. And I want to bid the lowest amount that
Yeah.
I can while still getting that game, right? I mean, that this is what everybody's trying to do, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to spend $50 on a game that you could have had for 20, right? Or even $10 on a game that you could have had for 2, right? So this is what you're trying to achieve, and trying to find that balance can be tricky at times. But we're going to try to go through a bit of our thought process, I think, as we get into it, about maybe some things to think about that might get you a little bit closer to finding that equilibrium, I guess.
Yeah,
That kind of
absolutely.
minimum amount you need to get the game you want.
Yeah, and maybe when we're done, it'll make people feel better about what situations you should feel good about losing a bid. And I'll explain
Mm.
what we mean about that a little bit later. But that's another part of this. Is like you're not going to win all of them. So when can you like walk away feeling pretty good about yourself? So do you want to kick us off with some of the things the categories that you think about when you're looking at this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we should start by just like league the league you're playing in, like the league rules
Yeah.
specifically, because you mentioned it off the top. Like, you need to know what your minimum bids are, and I think like it's probably most common for there to be a $1 minimum bid. But I've played in
Hmm.
lots of leagues where it's a $0 minimum bid. That makes a difference, right? You can throw in a $0 bid. You don't have to spend any of your budget. If that happens to be your league rules. So you should be aware of that, and that's going to affect what your bid value will be. What the roster sizes are. If you've got 15 games that you've got versus 8, you only have to fill out a certain amount, so you could put that in smaller, roster size. You could be bidding more than you otherwise would if you've got a much bigger roster, right? Um, what else? Having unlimited drops like changes things, because you're going to have
Yeah.
more transactions potentially to deal with. So you want to maybe allow yourself a little bit more of budget, and maybe you're a little bit more conservative on your bids in that situation. And then the other one that's probably pretty obvious is what the type of bidding system your league uses. So is it private bidding or public bidding? Because I feel like, maybe, I don't know what you think about this, John, but I think public bidding probably forces higher bids
It
because,
juices it. Yeah, it juices it
yeah,
100%. That's been my experience. It's playing out again this year. It's for sure one of those criteria that it juices the overall spend for sure.
yeah,
Whether it's
yeah.
because people are skeptical that they're going to win, or because multiple people just pick up on it, they definitely go into it and start increasing their bids. I want to pick up on one of the things you said, which was about the minimum spend and the roster size. So I've been in leagues where the minimum spend was $5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. and it really makes you have to be a bit more selective about how you fill out your roster. You end up doing a lot of math really quickly about
Mhm.
how much you need towards the end of the season in order to fill out the team. um, so I think, and sometimes you just go into these denominations. Like I'm in a league, one of the leagues, one of four this year that has a minimum spend of $3, and quickly like the denominator, like you start multiplying, right? Like you're, $3 in my base, you start multiplying. It's like probably need to put about $6 in for any of these bids to have like a chance of success,
Right.
and then that's depending on demand, right? And so for sure that construction starts to influence kind of like how you need to be thinking about your bids, and how you need to actually be um, evaluating the amount you're going to put to it, not only to like manage the amount you need throughout the year, but then also like competing against your competitors, which I think um, is probably the other thing we want to talk about here. Is the this is a tough one because maybe not everybody's thinking in these terms, but I have experienced that the people that you compete against is probably the single largest determinant of like how much you need to put
Yep.
towards specific games. Now, with large titles, I'd suspect that it's like probably universal, right? Everybody is putting a large sum of money on Astrobot or Donkey Kong. That's going to be league over league the same. But when you start going down into kind of the mid-range games or indie games, you really start to see like individual personalities coming out. You may have competed against them previously, you may know kind of what their style is, but you really start to have to take that into consideration. Generally, you're always starting to put yourself into other people's heads in order to even like try and figure out if they're bidding on the same thing as you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there are definitely like there is, and I say this, with the utmost of respect. We're all having fun here with fantasy critic, but there can be a bit of a knowledge gap, like in terms of some players in the league versus others, right? Some people, and we've talked about this, feels like it comes up on almost every episode we do, John, is like indies really have the potential and often win people leagues, right? Because, and I think this is part of the reason why is because they are much more hidden gems,
Mhm.
they can be at least. They're not games that everybody just knows about and is going to be able to put a bid in. So when you have that knowledge gap and you're like, oh, you happen to have identified a game like, say, let's throw out Titanium Court, which is something that we
Yeah.
talked about.
That's again That's
You
the
know,
example I was gonna use also. Yeah, go for it.
yeah, so like Titanium Court, this is one that, you know, hasn't had, or at least until the last couple of weeks, hasn't had a ton of fanfare. Um, it's a, it's a solo dev. It happened to be, nominated for some fairly significant indie game awards. It doesn't have a release date. We expect it's coming this year, but like that's not something that's mainstream news, right? So if you're looking, you want to be able to, when if you're like, I've identified Titanium Core as a game that I want to add to my team, then you have to take a look and see who else in my league
Yeah.
might also be seeing the same thing that I am. And often it's probably, it depends on the league. In Super League, for example, everybody knows about Titanium Court. So I might have to make like, if I want to get it, I'm going to have to
If it was
probably put it.
available.
Yeah.
If it was even
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
If it happened to be available, I'm going to probably have to put in a bigger bid than I might in a
yeah.
league that where most people only play and are really knowledgeable about AAA games, right?
I think that's a great point. Like, it's like really your competitor. So I will give you I will build on the Titanium Court example from this past weekend. So we're going to talk about the previews for that game and what people are talking about when they've been engaging with that game and the trailer that came out and everything. I, in one of my leagues, was successful in my bid to get Titanium Court. I spent $11 of my budget to get Titanium Court because I started overvaluing and probably overthinking where other people are going to be on this. No competitive bids, just me at $11, right?
Right.
So I feel okay with that, but I could have gotten it for $1 or $3 actually in that league. Um, so overspent. compared to some of our other leagues that I'm in, Marcus, where we compete with a friend of ours, the good sir. Titanium Court's been gone since the draft.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And like, so like, even if it wasn't, to your same point, and we were trying to secure that game, like we would have to take consideration that I'm competing against this guy or other individuals like him that have that passion to really dive deep into the indie scene or into the games that may not be as visible, and then you have to kind of bid accordingly.
yeah,
And then obviously understanding their patterns and what
sure.
they like to put, right? Because people get into patterns, right? They put $5 down, or they get put, and so that can be an element of this as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like as an example, if a new Resident Evil has just come out or is coming out in a couple
Hmm.
of days, maybe out by the time this episode releases. If the next Resident Evil game gets announced, we know our good friend Nagachaka is putting in a bid immediately
Yeah.
because he
Or
loves,
$100.
yes, and he's going to put in a big bid. So if you want that, you have to know that kind of
Yeah.
pattern and I know Nagachaka is going to probably want Resident Evil because he loves Resident Evil. He just loves Resident Evil, and he likes he. Maybe I'm putting words into your mouth, Matt, but um, I think that he would love to have that on his team just because he loves Resident Evil,
Yeah.
and
He'd love to represent it. Yeah.
yeah, totally, and you know that knowledge is useful when you're thinking about what you're going to bid. Is it worth me having to try to outbid Matt to get at the next Resident Evil game on my team? Because I know I'm going to have to spend big because he's going to do it. And maybe it is, but at least I kind of have that
Yeah.
knowledge going in. Another thing I think, when we're talking about like the other people in your league, it's not just like what their inclinations are. You also should be looking at their roster. It's one thing,
Yeah.
maybe good sir, who we've already mentioned, who's a big indie guy, his roster's already full. So it's
Cool. Yep.
possible, like he doesn't need the next new indie, or he's maybe going to be a little less likely to potentially drop a game to add this new one that's come out because his roster is already full. So you should also not just know their tendencies of the other players in your league and their knowledge, but also like what do they need? Are they going to be looking to
Yeah.
add a game at this point? That's really important as well. Like you should be kind of examining that thing too.
Yeah, there was I can't remember which DLC it was, but I remember going in and looking at, there's one league I play in where you have to fill a DLC slot, and you can only have the one expansion pack slot. You can't put it into like a regular game slot. Uh, and mine was full already. I didn't realize. I'm like, oh, I already have mine. But I was just evaluating like what I would bid if like it was worth dropping and swapping it out. And I was realizing that the teams that I thought were best positioned so far in the year already had their DLC slots filled. And so I felt okay passing because it was like the biggest competitors are probably not moving on this either and just letting it pass
Right.
by. So, it's not really a bid management piece, but I think like just awareness generally of where everybody else is standing is actually a good exercise to do once in a while. I know I do it to see where I think I stack up, and that usually helps me in one decision point or another. The other way that competitors come into it. I mean, there's a funny scenario from the our league, our champion Super League level number 6 from this past weekend, where so no Super League, it has a public bidding system this year. We, me specifically, maybe others, I don't know, put in a bid for Silent Hill. Is it Townfall? Timefall? What is this?
What is it
The new
called
one.
here? The new Silent
The,
Hill.
the, the newest one. I think it's Timefall.
It's not Town something, I think.
Townfall. Townfall. Yeah,
Townfall?
I was right the first time. It doesn't make any sense, but Townfall. Uh, right? This one was looking pretty good. I'm always a little bit, not to give away my secrets, but I'm always a little bit it's such a tight competition for games that I am looking for things that I can fill the roster with, right?
Right.
Things I can feel comfortable with. So I put that bid in. Funny enough, there was many bids on Silent Hill Townfall,
Yep.
and three of them, the top
4.
three, four
There
was
were
four.
four
Okay, four
four-way
bids,
tie. Yeah.
four-way tie of $6.
Yep.
So clearly, and four people were me, you. I'm not sure there was a couple others that were in there.
Yep.
all bidding the same dollar amount for Silent Hill Town. Now you won because of the tiebreak
Yes.
of lowest projected points,
Yes,
which
yeah. Cheers
I
to me
think
for
that's some
having the
bullshit.
lowest projected
That's
points, yeah.
I don't know if I buy that, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just interesting that we all looked at that game. We all evaluated it based on, I guess, how it looked,
Mhm.
our maybe expectation that it will hopefully come this year, and assigned it a value of $6. Just,
Yeah.
and all had the
What are
same
the
kind of
odds? It
thought
was it
process.
was so
Yeah,
crazy when I saw it, and there was a fifth person that bid on it, I think bid $2. So,
lower. Yeah,
yeah.
lower. Yeah.
So, but yeah, to have 4 people bid $6, I think, like, everybody is I think in general in that league, people have been a little bit more conservative. Like, in Super League,
Mm,
we don't like, I know you, you know me. Maybe people think, like, have a bit of a familiarity with us, but probably not really so much. But, like, we don't really know each other, I don't think, for the
no.
most part, right? So we don't
Yeah.
have that history that I think probably a lot of people do in the other leagues that they play in. Like, you have
Yeah.
a bit of a history with the people you're playing with. So I think that automatically makes you maybe a little bit more conservative in your bidding, a little bit lower.
Mm,
At least that's how I would probably approach it, is like, I'm a little leery to go to spend too much because I don't want to be in that situation that I just described right at the beginning where I bid way more than I needed to get the game
yeah.
that I wanted, right?
Yeah. Because you're going to need that budget later in
Y-
the season and everything
Totally,
else.
that as
Yeah.
well. Um,
So, and I think there's a little bit of psychology of like, again, not wanting to overbid. Your $5 may be the standard. You're going $1 above,
yeah,
thinking you're going to outplay each other,
yeah,
um, and not wanting to overspend on a game that doesn't have a date. Right? I think that's part
exactly.
of it in a
Yeah,
in a league where there are limited drops, and you got to manage that roster for the entirety of the season. You don't want to do something that eliminates you from play so early. So I think that might be coming into it a little bit. I definitely overbid on some of my counter picks in that league as well because I've been like outbid multiple times. Like this goes to your point about the unfamiliarity with your opponents. I was getting outbid every week in that
yeah,
league, a little bit on tilt. To making the poker analogy, in poker, your knowledge of your opponent is such an important factor in the game in terms of people's ability to play and compete, and in this game it can have it can be a factor as well. Uh, but yeah, just with that element of it, it's always an interesting one because being blind to necessarily how people think about games is for sure a consideration.
yeah.
And yeah,
Well, I
it's
think, like,
interesting.
so I'd be curious to know, like, what else went into that $6 amount in that thing. So for me, like, it's early in
Yeah,
the year too. Again, it doesn't
it
have a
is. Yeah.
date, like, other than 2026. Um, I think it looks really good. I'd love to have it on my team, but I didn't want to go too crazy. One, because again, I don't want to blow all my budget, but it's really early. There's a little too much uncertainty for me to feel like I needed to go
Mhm.
higher.
Yeah.
Because $6, I bet you there were other leagues that you play in,
Hmm.
that it went for more than that.
More than that. Yep.
Yeah, me
Yep.
too, definitely, right?
Yep. I think part of that comes down to also the psychology of like being okay losing a bid.
Mm.
I'm not okay losing the bid to you. But it's like, you know, this is the part where we get into like not overspending, right? I think this is a key part of the strategy, which is when you're evaluating a game, you kind of laid out some of your criteria, right? How does it look? What are the previews saying? What's the pedigree of the developer? What
Yeah,
they've
we
done
talk about
before,
these all the time, right?
right?
Yeah,
These are all
yeah,
the standard things. But what you don't want, I think, is to be blowing your budget. And like, how do you define a sure thing, right? So, you know, um, people see a date, they see it coming out relatively soon, but like, you don't want to be spending, I would say, a good chunk of your budget that's going to kneecap you later on for an 83 or an
yes,
85. Like you kind of need to have some assurances that if you're going to be going and spending a quarter of your budget or more, a third, whatever you can afford in your particular set of rules, like in your competition on a title, it needs to be a game breaker. Like we talk about Donkey Kong, we talk about Astrobot in years past. Like those are games where people were comfortable really investing because it needs to like you're it's a roster, right? It's not an individual sport. Like you can't win the game on your own. It's a team. It's a team
Yes.
sport. So you kind of, to keep the sports analogy going, you kind of need to think about how it's going to round it out. So it really needs to make a disproportionate impact if you're going to end up spending that amount of money.
Yep.
Um,
Because like we've talked about this again also many times. Is like in most leagues, you really shouldn't be looking to add any game in any circumstance for any amount of money that you don't think is going to probably be getting at least an 80,
Media,
right?
yeah,
I mean, outside of kind of like really big leagues, really deep leagues, with maybe a lot of restrictions, but you really shouldn't be doing that generally speaking. And
yeah,
so, in order, if you're going to be spending a ton of your budget, you need to be damn sure that that's going to do much better than the game you could have got for a dollar, right? And
yeah,
it's got to do quite a bit better than you could for a dollar. And whether that's like a combination of the just the certainty or the
yeah,
actual like ceiling value, you have to be sure. Like you have to be
yeah,
pretty sure to
and
spend that much money.
yeah, the difference in points scored, right, for the amount of dollars you're spending has to be a consideration. And this is where I get to the idea of like being comfortable losing a bid,
Right.
right, and not being pulled into overbidding for something that isn't going to i- i- really be a contributor to your team.
Right.
I think that's the way I look at it. So with something like Townfall, it doesn't have a date. I probably feel like I can make up those points somewhere else later with another pickup through Summer Games Fest or another, something gets dated, whatever it might be. Where I think the distance, the gap between the two will probably be not that far, right? And I'm okay, losing in that regard and not extending myself. Now, if I could go back and bid seven, I probably would take it for seven. But
Sure.
like, I'm not looking to go 10, 11, 12. I'm not looking to get
Yeah.
into like into that double range. So that's always a consideration for me, and that's the way I look at it, especially when I lose or in a tie break, which can be a bit heartbreaking. To make sure that you kind of am comfortable to kind of reload and go at it again. And kind of taking those smart decisions and not go on tilt like I did with one of my counter picks, and try and stay like level headed in all those considerations. Is there anything else you think about when you think about a sure thing? Obviously, we were guessing, right? Like we can't predict
Yeah.
what something's going to score. I think Astrobot and Donkey Kong were good guesses. There was no guarantees with either of those. But anything else you like, I was thinking about the Castlevania example, and
Yeah.
I don't know, Marcus. Is there other stuff that you consider?
Well, like, so I think there are things that influence what you're likely to need to bid. And you have
Hmm.
to kind of determine whether or not it's worth it for you. So, like, Castlevania is a good example because, coming out of this widely very like applauded, very well regarded state of play from
Hmm.
Sony, um, Castlevania was, I think, if not the definitely one of the top two or three games that were shown that were widely added and kind of like
Yeah,
fantasy critic relevant, that you know weren't weren't games that people already had on their rosters. Um, and so if you identify it, chances are that's it's a pretty big stage. So like there was a lot of hype around
yeah,
Castlevania Belmont's Curse. Like a lot of people wanted that. And I think rightly so. I think that it was a game that has the potential to score well. But how well? Is it worth
yeah.
you know, I don't know, like the leagues that I don't think I put a bid in for it because I don't think I was willing to go to the point where I would have to. I knew I would have to. Like it went for I think it went for $70 in one league that I play in, John.
Yeah,
Um,
that's too high.
so I mean, maybe it's not, but it was too
Yeah,
high for
maybe
me
for
in
that
that moment.
individual. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and so, but even like 40, like I would have probably paid 20. I wasn't going to
yeah.
win a bid in any league at probably with just 20, right? There was too many people that knew about it and wanted it. It probably wouldn't have hurt me to put the bid in, but I didn't, I got busy and it was like, it was fine because I was like, I was okay to lose it,
You're okay to pass. Yeah,
pass on that one. Even though I would be happy to have Castlevania on my team. I would be happy to have it, but I wasn't,
yeah.
I felt like it just was like there was too many factors associated with it that was going to drive its price beyond what I was comfortable paying.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what I paid for it, and I got it in one of my leagues for $18.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I was at in multiple leagues. I kind of went in, and in one league I got it. I don't think I got it in any other leagues at that same price point.
Okay.
Right. So, that's what I was comfortable in. That's a good example of like being happy with it in the league that I got it in. I'm somewhat confident. Doesn't have a date,
Yep.
right? Still pretty confident it's going to come out this year. If it comes out, I think it'll do well. Will it do first party Nintendo well? No, I don't think so. I think it's probably a safe mid
Mid
80, I hope,
80s. Yeah, I think it's
right?
probably a safe
But there's no
with the
guarantees. Yeah, right. So I think you're also in a good spot to be like okay passing,
yeah.
right?
It might get, if I can do my job, if I can do a good job at it, it might
Yeah.
get 2 or 3 more points than a game I could get for a couple of
Gone for
bucks.
$3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and that's
Yeah.
that's the that's the trick, right? And sometimes I always try in terms of my strategy, and we're gonna get into this now, is like the more games you can fill out that you're comfortable with at that couple buck point, it sets up the the big spend on the big first party announcement that we don't even know about yet, right?
Yep.
It allows you to create a roster that if you're talking about like a salary cap structure in a hockey team or an NBA team, like you kind of have the two ends of the range, right? You're filling out your player base with good, solid role players, and then you kind of have those superstar pieces that you really want to round out your team. And it's only with those kind of combinations that I think it can be successful. But maybe I'll pivot from that and talk about timing. So
Mm.
one of the things you mentioned was when in the year and how the change obviously from early on in the year to later in the year. And I think this is relevant because to your point, the state of play, like, and there was a partner direct, there was a lot of movement over this past month. Like there's a lot of
Yep.
news. We're gonna get to that. There was a lot of bids. There was a lot of movement. Um, it seemed very active in my estimation. Now that we're at the end of February here,
Yep.
like, that's good. It's good for Fantasy Critic, but it's also like there's a lot happening. So how do you manage that? What do you look at? Um,
Well, I think that it depends again, it depends on league rules. So in my one league where I have unlimited drops and no counter picks, I've filled out my roster almost immediately. And so um I don't need as much budget in that league necessarily. I still have a healthy amount of budget, but I was
yeah,
okay kind of like filling it out quickly because I can drop games throughout the season and I can still I felt like I guess I'm trying to say I felt like I didn't need to reserve quite as much for that big spend because I've
hmm
put a lot of speculative games that could potentially be those big games that I would be spending a lot of money later on. So I don't know. I didn't need to conserve quite as much of my budget.
right,
But in most leagues, I do want to conserve more of my budget. That might have factored in a little bit into that line of thinking with the Castlevania
right,
stuff, right? Is like I don't mind adding games, but they tend to be for a few bucks here, a few bucks there. Six
yeah,
dollars, for Silent Hill. Like it's only that type of a value that I'm mostly bidding on games this early in the year because I do want to give myself some flexibility for later. And we get to kind of the middle of the year, like kind of the Summer Games Fest. That's where I might be looking to make a bigger splash. And I'm less concerned often with having too much left over, much beyond that, to be honest. I want to
correct,
have
yeah,
definitely some budget, but I could have 10, $20 left at that point and I'd be pretty good.
mm.
Kind of
I
halfway through
always
the year. Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it like a little bell curve, you know?
Y
Like, you're kind of
yeah.
I don't know if that's the right terminology, sticking with our accountant theme for the night, but, like, you kinda ramp up, uh I always like to add something early, something that I wasn't able to pick up at the draft that I'm still pretty good on and high
Right.
on for
Yeah.
low value, right? That can't be counterpicked and try and get that early, and then monitor a little bit and kind of, to your point, low bids. That's kind of generally my strategy because you are preserving a certain amount for later in the year. But I think we've talked about this when we talked about waiver wire last year around this time, year ago, was trying to make sure your team is rounded out by September, right? There's still
Yep.
some usually some information stuff coming out in September, but I never like to go much past that and not have a clear idea of where things are going to land. So my budget model follows that, right? I'm almost like ramping up to your point, summer's game fest into June, and you kind of have your biggest spends around that period, and then it kind of my model typically comes back down, I would say, after that, and you're really just tinkering at that point, maybe filling out one more
Yep.
game, or something got delayed and you're kind of swapping things out for something else that you just need to like plug and play. But yeah, by that point, you kind of you've fired all your shots. I think to a bigger, to a more or less extent. I know there's some people that like to wait until September to see what that kind of fall lineup brings, but always a little bit of risk because again, everybody's going to be competing for those same games. But if some people I know like to hold back the budget
Mm.
and they wait and try and get and scoop things up. It's a different strategy, but um, definitely the time of year I think influences how much we're spending
Yep.
um, and how much we're
Definitely.
competing.
I,
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to make a big spend on a big game that I'm excited about, has a good, like a pretty solid date, big, probably a big IP, but that's kind of a middle of the year, like maybe
Yeah.
second, third quarter of the year sort of
Yeah.
move. And yeah, and then I'm quite comfortable. I could definitely, I think in particularly this past year, I think I had my rosters rounded out in most leagues by like August. Like, and I was like,
Hmm.
and there were actually, a decent amount of games that were announced, came out, or like got dates and came out in the latter, those last 4 months that were quite good. I missed out on Luminous Arise as an
Yeah.
example,
Same. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That was what I was
Um,
thinking of. Yeah.
and had I had more budget, I would have probably been able to add it because we were keen on it. But
Hmm.
it's kind of what we both have talked. This bell curve sort of thing is tends to
Yeah.
be how I spend throughout the year, right or wrong.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I mean, I think this is an interesting conversation. I mean, it's one of those things that like it's really what you're playing with, right through the
Yeah.
years. So, to really think about where those dollars are going, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
In a perfect world, I know I've talked to you about this. Like in a perfect world, I would love, like you'll see this on like sports fantasy websites where they actually like assign a dollar value where they generally try and recommend even like how much you should be bidding on, which is really it's a fictitious number that's just based, they don't even know what your own
Yeah.
league dynamics are if you have 6 people or 12 and all that stuff, or if you're playing the different models of fantasy football, for example. But trying to just like illustrate the point, right? I don't mind the idea of like even like a some sort of symbology or emojis to really indicate like how much. I think we did a little bit of that on Blue Sky
Mm,
following the state of play.
right.
The must adds and that type of thing. So um, but yeah, that'll probably. I think that's it. If was anything else that we didn't cover, I was gonna like call out anybody listening if you have your own strategies.
That would be awesome. I'd
Um,
love to hear other people's
yeah, I'd
strategies.
love to
Yeah.
hear about it. Like there might be different things that we've missed here or that we're not considering, or you think we're out to lunch. But yeah, connect with us on Blue Sky. Let us know. I don't know, Marcus. Was there anything else?
Well, you kind of alluded to it as well. I mean, I think that it's really difficult to say for you to give you an answer. Well, how much should I bid for this game, or what? How
Yeah,
much is this game worth? Because we've literally spent the last half an hour almost talking about all of the factors that go in, and it differs in every league and every particular situation. So, hopefully, we've given you at least some things to think about when you're deciding how much to bid, but it's really difficult to say, like, because it varies so much just league to league in time within the league, time within the season, and there's just so many factors. So try to use maybe some of this information to start thinking about the next time, I guess, you make your bids, and let us know how it goes.
yeah, yeah. And I'll leave you with this: 4 people from Super League Division 6 bid $6 on
Yes.
Silent Hill Downfall.
Yep.
So yeah, who knows? Who the hell knows? All right, we've got a ton of news to talk about. Let's do it.
Let's get into the news.
I'm gonna take a big breath for some of this. So the month started off, we had a Nintendo Partner Direct. Everybody usually expects a full Nintendo Direct, but that has not come to fruition yet. We had a Partner Direct instead. We'll run through some of these because some of them are notable, um, some of them are not. Orbitals, which we've talked about a little bit already on this program, got a summer release window, which I think is actually quite notable. It's been picked up in many of the leagues that I'm in. The window is better than what was there previous, so now I think there's a little bit more confidence that it's coming out, and it looked good.
Mm.
It's showing pretty well. So I haven't picked it up. I should probably go back and see if it's available anywhere. But
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
gone in all
looking.
of the leagues that
I think
I'm a
so.
part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paranormal Site, the next entry in that series, came and went. So it was shown with a February 19th release date. It has come and it did quite well. I think it's at a low 80 right now, right?
I think it's
Is it
85.
83? 85 has gone up. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
The first one in the series, it was only like a high 70s. So I know that we both passed on this.
Mm.
You had speculated, you had a hankering of this game, but um,
I did.
I was not.
On my other podcast, I had mentioned that this was one I was considering picking up, but I didn't pull the trigger. I wasn't quite confident enough in it. But yeah, it definitely exceeded what I thought it was going to do. So good for them.
I wrote Captain Tsubasa here. I don't know why this one stood out to me. This is like a soccer game. It's like a
Okay.
soccer anime game. I don't know why I wrote this here. I wouldn't pick it up. Maybe I just thought it was fun and I just noted it. Maybe it was just one of those like, fantasy critic relevant because it's coming out this year, but I don't pick that up.
No,
Maybe
don't look
play
at
it
that one.
though. It looked cool. The Adventures of Elliot, Millennium something, is coming out June 18th. So that got dated. So that's
Yep.
exciting for everybody that had that.
Yep.
Good time slot, good window. Um, I'm wondering what you think about this one. Turok Origins, that they showed with a fall window,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I typically stay away from Turok.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this is a
Maybe that's a bias.
multi pass. Yeah. No, we don't want this
Oh,
one. No, no, I don't think so.
okay. All right.
Yeah. I'll be staying
Okay.
far away on that one. Yeah.
Let's talk about this one. Maybe you have more insight here. Kyoto Xanadu. I think this might be a little sneaky one. This is a summer release window. I need to do some research on this game. RPG sequel to Tokyo Xanadu from
Yep.
Nihon Falcom. Interesting.
I think this is a sneaky one as well. I would agree. I think I haven't added it. I probably won't. Our good friend Ron is quite keen on this game to play it at least. He may have even
Yeah.
added it in our leagues. But yeah, I
The
think that
first
this
one,
has the potential of doing okay for sure. This I wouldn't shock me at all. This ends up in the low 80s.
I think the issue is like the first one only had like a 73 on Metacritic. Like it wasn't well received, the Tokyo Xanadu. And so I think that's
Was it
like
that low?
people. Yeah, I think so. Unless I'm looking at the wrong title. Um, so I think people are shying away from it. I know I did when I initially saw it, but then I kind of went back and started reading about it. I feel like maybe we need to see more of the game before we start
Mm,
jumping in. Yeah, I could see Ron wanting to pick it up,
yeah,
um, because I just feel like maybe the moment is changed for this type of RPG.
yeah.
Uh, they've come so far, so maybe there's like an opportunity to do something different in the series. Um, so yeah, it might be a bit of a sneaky one that we'll probably have to keep an eye on. I don't hard for me to add it, but I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't know about the 73 for the first game. That knocks it down a little bit on my interest level, but I do think that
With the Falcom piece, like,
I
does it
know, I know.
offset some of that? It's an interesting debate here. I have to start looking into like what people are saying about it, what they're hearing, maybe some of the rumors about what this game is, try and ascertain a little bit more. Maybe it's like a hold, wait and see kind of thing here. Um, and then the other one that had a date, Digimon Story Time Stranger, July 10th, but typically I think we've stayed away from the Digimon entries. So it wasn't a super relevant Fantasy Critic Direct. Maybe a couple there at the top end, some dates which are interesting, but overall, just okay. Contrast that with Sony's State of Play that came out, I think, February 13th. or 12th, a couple days before Valentine's Day. And this was a love letter to gaming. I actually am one of the people, thank you. I am one of the people that actually really was impressed by this. Even if not all the games are for me, I really, it felt really great pacing. Anyway, and I think there was a lot in there that was potentially fantasy critic relevant. So we'll go through them. These ones we probably will stop on all these ones. So the first one we talked about already, Castlevania Belmont's Curse, just 2026.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add to the Castlevania?
Not really. I think this is probably the top for me. This would have been the top ad. I just wasn't really
Yeah,
willing to pay what it ended up going for. But I think it
yeah.
looks great too. I'm very excited to play a new Castlevania game by the devs that did Dead Cells, right?
Yes, right. I forgot about that element. Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe that's the other thing that was driving the prices a little higher. Yes, good, absolutely good point. But again, just 2026, no date. We also got the show was basically kicked off with a new Kena, Scars of Cosmera, just 2026 also. But this game looks like a glow up from the original.
Yeah,
From I don't know if you played. Did you play the original?
I
Yeah, you
have.
played it
Yeah,
and loved it, right? You
I
liked it.
played it and liked it. I think I the
Yeah, I
con
think that's where I am with it
it's
too.
deceivingly difficult. Did you play it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I played about half of it. Yeah, I never
yeah.
finished it. I kind of
It's
should go
quite
back.
hard. Yeah,
I love the art style and I love the game idea. It just kind of dragged on. This looks like, and the first one I think scored an 83. I should
yeah.
say, I believe. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
This looks like a bit of a glow up and a more just more in general. So this was probably our second pick of Fantasy Critic Relevance. If you saw our Blue Sky post,
Hmm.
yeah, I liked it. I liked what I saw here. So, um, I don't think it's going to change the landscape of gaming, but definitely probably has that same mid-range 80s written
Yep.
all over it.
Yep.
So
Low to mid 80s, I think, is a very reasonable expectation for it.
yeah, Silent Hill Townfall was the next one up. We've discussed it a little bit. I thought this looked great.
Yeah, I think I'm quite happy to have it on. I actually have it on two rosters, and
Hmm,
I think that the question is just whether or not it comes this year. It's able to make the date. I think that having. I know it's not. I think the same teams that have done the last two Silent Hill games, but
correct.
um, I don't know. It looked very good. People seem to be excited about how it looked, and so if it hits this year, I feel like it's a pretty solid bet. So, yeah,
Yeah. So the team that made it is Screenburn Games or Screenburn Interactive. And so some of their other titles, like you know, uh, Stories Untold, I think had a 79. So like their other
okay,
games have been like high 70s, but this definitely looked like it was potentially a cut above. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye out for. Um, Darwin's Paradox, which we've talked about a couple times, now with an April release date.
yep,
So that's good for that game because I think there was some questions why we hadn't seen more, and now we have.
yeah.
Konami really showing.
I've heard a few people talk about this because they also released a demo. I don't know if it was the day of
Yeah,
the state of play or not, but
it may have been. Yeah.
they the people that I've heard talk about that have checked out the demo were not super keen on it.
Oh.
And it could have
Hmm.
just been maybe it's not the game that they wanted. It sounds like it's a lot of stealth, which is kind of what we
Mm,
saw in that trailer.
like following the Metal Gear. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like it's too risky because I think it looks really good. Like I love the art style, kind of that 2D, um, I don't know, that 2D art style and very hand drawn. Not sure if it probably is the hand drawn art style. So like it looks really good, but I don't know if the gameplay is going to resonate with everybody. I'm very curious to see how it scores. I'm not sure that I'm willing to add it to any team. I haven't to this point, and I don't think I will. But I'm very curious of how this game's going to do.
Interesting.
I feel like it's going to be a pretty big range. I could see low
Yeah.
70s to mid 80s. I could.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably gonna be higher than. I think the seal basement is probably a little higher than low 70s.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I didn't try the demo, so I mean, I'm talking kind of just based on what was
Yeah.
shown. Um, but yeah, interesting. we'll keep an eye. That's another one. Like, I think I'm in the same boat. I haven't added it to this point. Probably won't.
Yeah,
But it was trending. I still look at it. It was trending higher just with the date and being showcased in
right.
the state of play. Uh, Mina the Hollower showed up with a
Yeah,
spring window, so that's something
that's
for all
great.
of us waiting.
Yep.
It is, yes.
Did you end up with it in any team?
Oh, I have it on one
Yeah.
of my teams.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah,
have it.
I need
Yeah.
that. I need that date. I need that date.
Yeah. I didn't
I
get
need
it
that
with
game to
any
come
in
out.
any league. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, I need that date. Okay. And then funny enough, Beast of Reincarnation. So we had seen this at the Xbox whatever show last month.
developer direct.
And thank you, Developer
Yes.
Direct. And the Beast of Reincarnation was back at the Sony State of Play, but this time got a date. So we do have August 4th for Beast of Reincarnation. Look good. Again,
Yeah.
I still don't know what to think about this game, but it's definitely been added in a bunch of leagues. It's probably gone. Um, Showing interestingly well.
I don't know.
So I don't know.
I I I suspect this is a bit of my bias. I have zero interest in anything that I've seen from this game. I think it looks incredibly
Really?
generic, and I don't know. I just like I don't really like from fantasy perspective. Like that's maybe my
Yeah.
personal bias. It's just like I have no personal interest in this game, so maybe
Yeah.
that's probably affecting my fantasy critic. But yeah, I I think this game's going to struggle to get into the 80s. That's where I'm
Hmm.
at right
I
now.
haven't I
Yeah.
haven't added it either. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I think it's just going to come and go. Like it's going to be one of those games that just
it
releases
just comes. Yeah.
and then
August. It's
a month
gone.
later nobody's talking about it, nobody's
Yeah.
played it. Yeah.
It's what was Forspoken? It's the
Yeah.
Forspoken. Is that
Well,
what you're thinking?
Forspoken had a lot more negative than I think. This is just going to go out with a whimper. Like it's not going to
Sorry.
get
I
yeah.
apologize to all our Sony fans out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I complimented the love letter to gaming, all right?
Yeah.
Just everybody relax. Uh Metal Gear Solid Collection. I don't know if this one's actually fantasy critic relevant. I don't think it's gonna get a score. I looked on OpenCritic for
Mm,
the other ones. They didn't get a score, so I wouldn't suggest this one be added. I just thought it was interesting that there's another collection coming out. Collections have been like sneakily picking up scores, like decent scores recently. So anytime one is announced, like I don't know if you saw this, but like the Bomberman collection got like an 85 or
I
86, and I'm
know.
just like,
I did see that.
what the
Yeah.
hell? So we'll dive into that maybe in the future, but that's why I always feel like a need to mention it.
Mm.
Um, and then lastly, again, this was shown, and despite our, I guess, better judgment, Neva Prologue was shown, and it has released since the state of play, and it scored an 82, breaking some
Yeah,
of the
sitting at an
yeah.
82. I think it had you would have had a chance to add it that weekend had you wanted to. Like
Yes,
it
you
was
had the
like
one weekend.
you had the
Yeah,
one weekend to add it. There's only 3 reviews on that 82 score and that, they're all top critics, so it's got its score. I wouldn't count on a ton more reviews. It's only been out for a week at this point, so a few more may trickle in, but I wouldn't count on a ton. So you're probably if you happen to grab it, you're probably doing okay. Like, you're
we got
probably
for
happy
cheap.
with probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's one more game that you don't have on your list here, John, that we have to talk about, and that is God of War: Sons of Sparta.
Oh,
My goodness, it's sitting at a because I don't think this is in the show doc anywhere else, is it?
uh,
Is it on our
listen, I
looking back?
may have erased it on purpose. All right, like
Yeah,
we don't need to talk about that.
well, it was less about
That's a
you.
good
I was
flag.
hyping
That's a
up
good
this
flag.
this game so much, John, and so I had it on 2 out of 4 of my teams.
Yes, they closed the show with this freaking game,
Yes.
and
Well,
Shadow dropped
yes,
it.
yes, and
They
Shadow
shadow
dropped it.
dropped it, which I've
Yeah,
told Kevin Ainsworth from Save the Game Media. This is the one time where
yeah.
we found a flaw in the shadow drop, where it's not a good thing.
Well,
You know,
I almost wonder, like, I mean, I don't know how much lower it could have went, but I didn't think the trailer looked great. I'm not the biggest
no,
fan
me
of
either.
the art style,
Same.
and so I was thinking the shadow drop might actually help it because I feel like, you get a
Mm-hmm.
long marketing
The
cycle
review
ahead of this
cycle. Yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
there's going to be people, it'll be dead before it even comes out. And
yeah.
that may have been true in this alternative, universe, but it's at 67 right
No,
now, so it's not doing much better. I think
it's
I had
killing me.
messaged you when it dropped. I was like, I'm revising my guess on this one to 76, and it's,
Hmm.
and it's well below that. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't expecting this. Yeah.
Okay. I blame Jeff Grubb. Uh,
It's all your fault, Jeff.
it's Jeff's fault. No, I'm joking. But
Yeah.
obviously, he was talking about it last year, and so, in the leagues where we had unlimited drops, I know I picked it up for super cheap and just kind of like
Yep.
stashed it there, thinking like, you know,
Yep.
I would move it if I needed to, not
Exactly.
expecting to see a
Had
trailer
there
that I
been
did not
any
like.
sort of marketing cycle, I think I may
Yeah,
have dropped it. I'm not
drop
sure
it.
if I would have
Yeah, I was
100%.
gonna ask you that.
I s-
That was the question I had for you.
yeah.
Like, would you have dropped it based on the trailer?
Probably not. If I'm being perfectly honest with myself, I probably wouldn't. I would have
That's how
just
I'm feeling about it.
I would have probably been banking on the IP. Like
I
I
think
didn't
so
see a
too.
world that God of War would get a 67. Anything with God of War on the name.
It had 70 written all over it though from that
Yeah,
trailer.
I did. If that was a game that didn't have God of War, and the funny thing is too, I had this discussion in one of our one maybe it was the BFAM Discord, but like I I think that it's possible. Maybe we can have the discussion. Do you think that the fact that it is a God of War game that actually hurt the
Hurts it.
scores?
Mhm. Yeah,
Because
a little
people
bit.
see
The
that
expectation is
IP,
higher.
the
Mhm.
expectations higher, and when because a
Mhm.
lot of the reviews that I've seen for this game were it's it's fine. It's just nothing special. It's just
Yeah.
it's nowhere
It's a
near like
fine game for anybody else,
it's
but
not
not good enough
broken
for
or
Stan. Yeah.
anything. It's just like
Yeah.
they may not like the art style, but they just think that it's a basic Metroidvania. And I wonder if
Mhm.
it just didn't have the God of War veneer over top of it. It was just a generic indie game Metroidvania. If it would have scored a few points higher, like it may not.
Higher.
It's not. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it would have made it into a mid
Yeah.
80s game or something, but maybe it would have been
Yeah.
72.
This is where the expectation and the
Yeah,
zeitgeist kind of works against you, right? Like,
yeah. Because usually it's the other way around, right? You get these things may bump
yeah.
it up, like a game with a Mario skin over top of it gets a bit of a
Mhm.
bump because it's Mario. If it was just generic, whatever, maybe not. I don't know.
I'll stand by Mario 2, and I'll stand by Ninja Turtles
Yeah,
on the NES
yeah,
if anyone who wants to come in. But no, yeah, no, I think that's true. I think it does set the expectations kind of high.
yeah,
And I do wonder out loud if they shadow dropped it because they knew it wasn't going to perform well critically.
yeah,
And so they just tried to build the hype and get people to buy in. And just kind of sucks, but I'm sure
yeah.
I'll play it on like PS Plus or one of the tiers
Yeah,
at
I'm
some
sure I'll
point.
play it at some
Yeah.
point. I'm not going to be rushing out to get it, but I'm sure I
Yeah.
like these style of games, so I'll probably play it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. See, I subconsciously had tried to erase it from the show doc here. I wasn't going to talk about it.
yeah,
Yeah, but luckily I didn't have it in the leagues where like drops were limited and that, so it just affected me one place. But yeah, that's gonna be a hard one to overcome.
yeah.
Uh, that's not great. And then like, so that was the state of play, and then 2 weeks later, or not even 2 weeks later, we get a social media post that Wolverine
Hmm.
is now dated, looking good, September 15th.
Yeah.
Great announcement, especially for all those that picked it up. We were a little concerned. I mean, it doesn't mean that it can't get delayed, but um, this is great. Great for us to play, great for those that have it in their leagues. I have it in one of my leagues where it dropped to where I felt comfortable picking it up in the first round.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I don't own it, but yeah, I think like people that have it, it's like I never trust any dates quite this far out. But,
they're trying to
you
get ahead
know,
of GTA, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I think like I feel better today about it coming out this
Oh,
fall than I did 3 days ago or
yeah.
whatever it was. And so that's good, but I wouldn't I don't think this means it's a guarantee that it's coming September 15th or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot better that's going to hit this year.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. I'm excited to play it. So,
Yeah.
um, and then this is sort of a stretch for Fantasy Critic News, but there are all sorts of reports that the Steam machine, I don't know if that's confirmed now, but I think it might be confirmed now, but it's delayed. I think they were first talking the first half of the year, now they're talking the second half of the year. There's obviously the chip shortage that's going on. Anybody that listens to us, I'm hoping, is listening to other podcasts where they're covering all this news. It's quite the time to be alive and be talking about video games.
Yeah.
Uh, So with the Steam Machine delayed, I've seen some of the wind go out of the sails of the Half-Life 3 crowd. Implications being that, I don't think Half-Life 3 launches without, like, I think that's a launch title.
Mm,
So do they just sit on it until the Steam Machine is ready to come out? And how long do they wait? All that, all
yeah,
those questions. But I think if I had Half-Life 3, I'd be less enthused right now seeing what I'm seeing.
yeah. I do have it in that one league that I have unlimited drops and no counter picks. So it was kind of one of those games that I
Hmm.
added.
You
Um,
can just have there, yeah.
I could just have it sitting there. Yeah, I don't think this is great. I wasn't. This is a as speculative. This is the as boom or bust as they get. And
Hmm.
so I yeah, I feel less confident, but I was never super confident in it coming to begin with, right? So
Yeah,
you know, I don't know. I'm more bummed about like I was very keen on the Steam Machine, John.
you were
So
very excited.
I was very
Yeah,
excited, and
yeah,
now kind of
yeah,
like the delay and the likely very big price increase. That's what I'm more bummed about than whether or not I
yeah.
won't even be playing. I'm not a big first person shooter guy, anyways.
Well, we'll see where things go.
Yeah.
Other things affecting the industry, talking about Steam machines and other consoles taking a slap here. Xbox had a big
Hmm.
shakeup, obviously, at their top executive levels. Phil Spencer leaving, Sarah Bond leaving, some other changes being made. I don't think this is fantasy critic relevant yet, but we've talked over the last year about like Xbox first party kind of getting hit a little bit. Any thoughts on if this affects anything going forward? I mean, it's still a big question whether
I think, yeah, I think
what
that
their
it
strategy is going to be. You know,
I think that it probably doesn't have much of an effect, if any.
okay,
But if it does, it's not a good one. Like this is not moving
okay,
it in the good direction just yet. I feel
it's
like
neutral to negative kind
neutral
of
to
thing.
probably neutral, but possibly, if anything, negative, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. It's hard to tell because they have such a good like gaming lineup set to come over the
They
next
do,
12
but
months.
when they
It's
keep
crazy. Yeah,
making, I think like I don't know, I don't think they've been great on their messaging in terms of
yeah,
basically everything about Xbox in terms of messaging, and they've changed their strategy a lot. And I think people are not generally happy with them, and I think that that
yeah,
bleeds into how they perceive their games, regardless of how good those games sometimes are.
yeah.
So,
And maybe there will be a little, we don't know. I'm not going to make that speculation, but I know we've spent some time talking about like the integration of AI into game development cycles, and will that come into it
hmm,
given some of the changes they've made? So we'll see. I'm not going to speculate just yet. I'm sure some of that will become very obvious over the course of the next 12 months, how
yep,
that plays out.
yep.
It's also been so busy. There's been so many games, so many game announcements. We're in the middle of Steam Next Fest. So why don't we spend some time talking about what we're hearing, seeing, trying? Insights from you, Marcus, or do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a handful. I haven't had a chance to play any Steam Next Fest demos,
Same. It just
so
started, to be fair. We
it
haven't
did
really
just start.
started yet.
I in the communities that I'm, a few of the indie communities that I'm in, or people that I follow on social media, people have been playing these things, and I've just
That's
kind of
great.
pulled out a few games that seem to be being mentioned by more than one person,
Hmm.
so that I think they're
Hmm.
getting some positive buzz around them. Titanium Court, which we've already mentioned, is definitely one of them. Heard several people talking that this game is really fun to play,
So
very addictive.
they showed a trailer. So there's a release trailer, or not a release trailer, but an announcement trailer. And then the previews are live, and so people are
Yep.
playing the demo.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's people are speculating that it's
Yep.
close.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that lines up with, again, the fact that it's nominated for awards that are coming out this year. So you'd think that the
Hmm.
game had to be pretty close, right? So
Hmm.
Titanium Core is definitely one. I think that that's a game that should probably be on a roster in every league. Like this
I think
this
so
has
too.
a good potential of scoring really, really well, and it's getting, again,
Yeah.
good positive buzz. Two others, John, I think that we're both familiar with. We talked about them as well on our last episode. Dench Attack, which is the
Yep.
train on rails kind of, I guess, platformer. Not really.
Hmm.
I don't know, platformer. I guess it is. Um, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
you're
know.
on rails.
I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's on
Um,
rails. Yeah.
and people seem to be really liking it. I was more skeptical
Yes.
than you when we talked about it last episode,
Yeah.
um, but there seems to be quite a bit of positive buzz about it. And the other one is the Eternal Life of Goldman. People seem to be really
Yes.
liking that one as well. So
Yeah. I think that's probably picked up in most leagues I'm in, but if it's not, people should keep an eye. I think people should go add that one as well. I think that's
yeah,
probably a must add at this point.
yeah,
Does it have a date?
it does not yet.
Okay, still waiting on a date, but it must.
Yep,
Feels like that one also is probably pretty good. That might be why it's not like it still might be available, but
yep,
I think that's probably one that we ranked highly in our tier list,
yeah.
and I think worth adding at this point. The only other one I'd flag, I don't know if I can speak to its value. I don't even know if we had it in our tier list, but Moomin Trail, if you know this
Mm.
game, kind of really cute art style,
I've
that
heard of
series,
it.
that IP.
Yep.
Yeah. It just got dated for April 27th. I thought that was relevant. I think some
Okay.
people have added it. I've seen some movement on it. I don't know. I haven't seen what the vast majority are saying about it, but I thought the date was relevant. So yeah, keep an eye out. I'm sure that there'll be some movement this weekend around additions.
I've got actually
I'm
two
ho-
more, John. I've got two more.
oh,
Yeah.
good. No, go for it. Yeah.
So these ones are a little bit lower profile. And again, I think they're just ones that you might want to keep on your radar because I people have been talking quite positively in multiple spots. One is called Fishbowl. I'm not sure if you've
Oh
heard about
yes,
this
I've
one.
heard of Fishbowl. I did. Yeah, that was yes. So you're hearing about that game also.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am. Yeah. So
Yeah,
this is
okay.
it's got an April date, not a specific date in April, but it's got dated for the month of April. It's like a
Hmm.
narrative game. I think it was a. I'm almost positive that this is a 6-1 indie showcase alum. So this was showed off. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know if it was the fall one or last spring. And then the other one is called Wax Heads. Have you heard of this one, John?
No, that one I don't know.
So this one's dated May 5th. It is a cozy punk narrative sim about like managing a record store. Really
Mm.
cool art style. It almost looks Paper Mario-ish, but more stylized, but like kind of
Never
that
mind.
cutout.
I
Do you know
I
this
do
one?
know this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've heard it
It got
again.
dated, eh?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, dated May 5th. So I think I would feel like I would need to do a little bit more research on both of these games. I don't know much
Hmm.
about the devs of these games, but seen more than one people within the indie community that I respect that are excited about these games, both Fishbowl and Waxheads, and then the other three or four that we've talked about.
Yeah,
So something to maybe look into.
yeah. Those have been floating around in kind of like space that I haven't. I like you. I haven't done the research,
Yeah.
but definitely something that people are chattering about. That's good. Yeah, there's been so much news and so much announcements, demos. Like it's just been a crazy month for fantasy critics. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for more.
Hmm.
And keep your eyes on all this because it's moving at a fast pace. Like we bring you what we can, but there's going to be a lot of stuff happening probably in early March too. So we also got a bunch of other dates and news. I'm going to run through these. Replaced got delayed out a month, got delayed to April. So still being delayed regularly.
Yep.
That's good. Some things are consistent. Planet of Lana 2 uh, also got dated now March 5th.
Yes.
I think that's great because I was a little skeptical when it didn't have a date. So to have an early date for that game, which I know is probably gone in most leagues, like very good. This is a game that we haven't spoken about, and again, it partially because I haven't done the research, but I really like the other game from this developer. Dosa Divas
Oh
was
yes.
dated for April 14th, so I think it's the same developers that did Thirsty
Thirsty
Suitors,
suitors. Yep.
which I think had like a high 70 score, but
Yep.
it was actually like a really innovative, well written game. So I'm torn because there's a part of me that's like I want to add it because I think their second entry will probably be stronger, but I'm also when there's risk involved, it's like you kind of have to balance it. But I thought it was worth mentioning. If you have a
Yep.
really deep league and lots of teams to fill, maybe that's something to at least do the research on and find out if it's something that might fit
Yep.
with what you're looking for. Dice a Million, which
Mhm.
famously we put in our D tier, got a release date of February 25th.
Yeah. As
Where it's
of
out.
today, as a release or as a
Correct.
recording. Yeah.
I looked. There
No
are no
score.
scores. It's just well, there's one review with an 8
Okay.
out of 10. So that's actually pretty good.
Okay.
One top critic score. So I think it's just a matter of like, does it get enough review scores?
Right.
Is the open question
Did we
right now.
talk about this one last week or last
Yep.
episode? Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think
our
we put
D
it pretty
tier,
low
right?
down.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Directive 8020, which I think is the don't no,
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 that's
I'm not gonna get them
super
confused. That's
massive.
a feeling. Yeah,
Super massive.
supermassive is yeah. So Directive 8020 got dated May 12th.
Okay.
I know that early on in the year, this was one that people were talking. How how do you feel about this game? I kind of had it on a watch list, but
I counterpicked it. That's the only I have
okay.
it
So
counterpicked in one league. Yeah.
you're low on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been high on it, not high enough to add it, but I know that
Super
some people were
massive is a
talking.
real mixed bag. Like basically since
It's yeah,
until dawn, they have been low low to mid
high
60s
in
to
70s.
maybe
Oh,
they have some games in the 60s. They definitely do.
this one, not to scare you, but this one people are saying looks
Yeah.
bigger and better, like more,
We'll see.
but
Yeah.
we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think you're probably fine to counterpick that.
Yeah.
Mouse PI for Hire got delayed until April 16th. Again, just a month of extra polish. Gecko Gods
Hmm.
got dated also for April 16th. It's kind of nice. It's a good one.
I think
We
that's
haven't talked
got
about Gecko Gods too much.
we haven't. I think that it also has a Steam Next Fest demo. If you're listening and you
Oh,
want to
good.
check it out.
Good to
Yeah.
know. I should try it out. Yeah. And this was the Donut game I was thinking about, a Phelion,
Right.
which I think has a spring now window,
Okay.
which I think is relevant. I need to do a little bit more digging on this one as well, but this might pop up in some of our discussions.
Yeah.
Some people were pretty high on this one, but again,
Yeah, it's one of those
they're
like
kind of
Don't Nod.
another
I
mixed
I
bag of.
really like Don't Nod games
I know,
generally,
yeah,
but they
yeah.
don't review consistently well, let's say.
This
Yeah.
one looked cool,
Yeah,
but yeah, I
it
don't know if
did.
that's enough to go on. So that's like our long wind down of the news. There's kind of a lot there, so hopefully that's helpful. Um, Maybe some news that you weren't aware of with all these dates and moving dates. So yeah, it's a lot to get through.
It's a
Okay,
lot.
let's keep it moving.
Hype check.
All right. In similar vein, we had a lot of scores this month, kind of in somewhat of chronological order here. Uh, Code Vein 2 scored a 73. I think we were both low on this from the
Right
start.
where we expected it to be, I think. I
Yeah,
don't know if we I don't
yeah.
know if we prognosticated that one, but that's exactly where I was
I don't
expecting
even
it to
think
sit.
it made it onto the
Yeah.
I don't think it even made it off the
Yeah.
prognostication list.
Yeah.
Okay, Lovish, which is a
Yes.
interesting looking indie game, ending up at an 82. For me, I was a little lower on this, just based on what it looked like, but coming out 82.
I played this one, John. It's fantastic. I think the 82 is a
Oh,
little low. It started
okay.
out like in the high 80s when reviews
Right.
first
And it's
started
come
dropping, and
down.
it's dropped.
Mm.
The scores dropped a bit, but it's really good little game.
Okay, we talked about the good sir earlier. He has this one in one of his leagues, Hermit and Pig,
Yes,
88.
I know.
Another one where I didn't, I they talk about the indie tax. This is our indie tax bias
Yes,
showing where I didn't, I wasn't as high on it because I did look at it and didn't think it would score this high. Um,
me neither. No, I thought this had mid 70s written all over it.
Really?
Mid to high 70s. Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah,
it. 88 is really great. So good for
really
those
great.
guys. Yeah.
Really great. I want to try it out. It's kind of makes me want to
Yeah,
actually
me
like
too.
go for it. You know what I mean? Okay, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. We were all very high on this. This one also had a great demo. 84.
Yep,
I think that's a good score.
it
You
is.
know, maybe slightly lower than where people were picking it, but in the draft, but pretty good, I
Hmm.
would say.
Yep,
Similarly, Neo 3, this was kind of like one of those locks when we were doing the draft. 85,
yep,
kind of coming in right where people expected it. We talked about this one last time in our tier list. This is our first like big miss. Little Gator game. We always get the caveat for DLC. We're still waiting on scores. I think it
yep,
has scores, but not the top critic scores that it needs to like
yep.
actually put up a number here. So still
I
waiting.
I'm gonna say I feel like I called this, John. I was very down
We
on
did.
adding Lil Gator games. So like yeah, I think that the scores are decent, but they're not like I think I haven't averaged out the non-top critic review scores, but I don't think it's high 70s, low 80s, and it's probably not even going to get a score at this point. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a bit of a
and
bummer for
that
those who grabbed it.
yeah, and the trend continues as Monster Train 2 DLC also was announced and released, and we're still waiting on scores for that one as well.
Yep,
So the DLC curse continues, and we'll
it
leave it
does.
there.
Yeah.
Um, Eugenics, which we were all very hyped for, and obviously it was going quite high. I think pretty much second round, if not first, in most of the drafts I was in. Eugenics coming in at an 89, landing at an 89, which is very good,
Yep.
very rewarding to see that actually hit. Glad
Did
that
you have
we're.
that in any league, Sean?
I did. I got
Yep.
it in a high second round pick in one of my leagues, and I believe this was one of my locks on the year. So very
Yes.
happy to,
I grabbed it
you
in
know,
two of my four leagues as well, so
ooh,
I was happy to have
that's
that.
very good.
Yep.
I think you were the one that stole it from me in the B family.
That's
So,
right. That's right. I forgot about that.
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
have had it.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right
That's right.
for me.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Yakuza Kiwami 3. This is the reimagining. This is the one biggest disappointment so far, maybe this year. A
Yep.
74.
Yeah, very
People were
surprised
picking
to
this
see
up,
this. Yep.
right? I think the first, like the original, had a high 80 or mid 80, and
Mhm.
people thought this was going to be a lock. And 74, quite low.
Yep.
Mario Tennis Fever comes in at a 77, maybe the most predictable score
It
of the
started
bunch, which
out a
actually
lot
is not
lower.
that
It's been
bad.
climbing. It's been actually
Yeah, it's not
climbing
that
since,
bad.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not worth the price.
yep.
I should have like a value for, for dollar kind of
Mhm.
evaluation system. Reanimal scoring at 81, which is again, I guess, kind of following the Little Nightmares trend
Yep.
line
Yep.
in the low 80s. This is the next big miss from us. Demon Tides
Didn't
scoring at
re-
86.
did not see an
God damn
86
it.
from this game. Yeah.
No, and this one I tried because I know that Blessing over
Well,
at Kind of Funny was big on this,
I
and
think at our tier
I
list
did,
you were
yeah.
like, "I like this game. I played it. I like it." And then I might have convinced you to
It did, but
lower.
I still put it in the C.
Yeah.
It's no,
Yeah.
it's no, it is. It has a lot going for it, but even in the demo that I played, I wasn't like, this is gonna change the world with an 86, right? It had cool creative. The platforming was great because it was doing something different. The characters were cool, but it still like felt like somewhat, maybe it's because it was a demo.
Yeah.
But I think more than that is like the 3D platformer curse gets these things get in your head. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to take the risk, right? I didn't expect the range to be this high, like this like wide. I was truthfully expecting a high 70. So we talked about Paranormal Site landing at an 85. It's great. Um, Next up, Love Eternal scoring a 79. I think this is slightly lower than where people thought this game was going to be, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too, but it has bumped up a fair amount. I think like there's not a ton of
Started
reviews,
quite
so
low.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
it was sitting at a 71 for a while, then it bumped up to a
Hmm.
75. Now it's a 79, so it could still move yet. I don't think, like I said, there's not that many reviews, and it just came out within the last week. So
And then finally, the big one, the other lock on the year,
yep,
Resident Evil Requiem, with the reviews dropping today, scoring, well, currently sitting at a 89, which is very good for that game. And what can we say? This is why it was our first overall kind of consensus pick.
yeah,
I think this is one that we had championed, and glad that it kind of came through.
yeah. I mean, I think it did exactly as we expected it to. An early release
Yeah,
date for such a big title, sitting at
yeah,
a 89 with over 100 reviews at this point.
yeah,
Like it's not going to, if it moves, it might be a point
up or
either
down.
way. Yeah, but
Yeah,
so yeah, that's what you want with your first or second overall pick, which is what we were recommending for this game. So
yeah,
yep,
absolutely. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at what's coming up in the months ahead. There's obviously lots of news. This has affected the waiver wire. We're going to do a little bit of deep dive into what people have been picking up and bidding on to kind of stick with the theme for the episode. So why don't we start coming out of that Nintendo third party direct. This was early February, so I think the first week of Feb. in this list, we got Orbitals coming in. This is not unexpected. I think Orbitals was probably the highlight. So we got, in that order, Orbitals, Paranormasight, Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales, Beast of Reincarnation, and then Scott Pilgrim EX. I think those first three are directly related to the direct. I think
100%.
those are probably the three that were the most fantasy critic relevant, to use your term from earlier, Marcus.
Yep.
Of those three, like, any thoughts on kind of where people are putting their money? Obviously, Orbital's kind of taking the lead here. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
actually surprised by that. I thought maybe Adventures of Elliot might get a little bit more boost, but
I suspect it's probably because it was drafted in more leagues, right? It wasn't
maybe, yeah,
as quite as available. I'm
yeah,
actually a little surprised. It felt like Orbitals had been taken in most of my leagues in the draft.
same,
So obviously, like it was added. The number of bids is that, yeah, no, that's a total number of bids. So
yeah,
number of successful, but so the number of successful ads was,
330 leagues,
yeah,
yeah,
like almost
yeah,
double that of Paranormasight,
yeah,
almost double.
yeah,
So
and that's
I think like it's
it's
probably a higher profile game than Paranormasight was. I would have been a little more keen to have a game like Paranormasight on my team
hmm,
than Orbitals.
interesting.
But I think that that might just be a personal taste and probably a little bit of 2020 hindsight too. It's hard to kind of maybe
Yeah,
dissociate the fact that Paranormasight slotted in at an 85.
because
But
to me that was the biggest surprise. I was surprised that people went so high on it. I know people love the game, the original, but I was pretty low on it just because of the scoring of
well,
of the
I
first one.
you said the first one. I want to just double check because I thought it scored higher per norm.
It might be
Oh
Metacritic.
no, there it is. Okay, here we are. Yeah, it's an 82, John. The first one.
Oh,
It was an 82, yeah. So it,
so maybe I just wasn't impressed with what I was seeing then.
could
I can't
be.
remember what the logic was. Yeah,
So anyways, I think the fact that of Reincarnation is just a holdover from the Xbox Developer Direct when it was, showed there. And then I think
yeah,
Scott Pilgrim, which is the 5th one from that first week of February, I think it had just received a date, a confirmed date or something. Um,
yeah, and so it boosted it up. Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, this is actually about what I would think it would be for that week, given the kind of the news that we had received the week before. So
yeah,
it
no big
seems about right.
surprises.
No,
Yeah, and then when we looked at week two, which is coming right after the state of play, obviously, again, kind of those top three: Castlevania, Kenna, Silent Hill, leading the way. Castlevania with a crazy total bid count, like total bid dollars, topping 34,000, which is quite high. I think
yes,
we had done the math. It looks like if you divide the total bid amount by the number of successful bids, I think it was something like averaging $40 a bid,
yep,
which I think probably to our eyes slightly high for what we would be comfortable spending on something, on a title like that.
yep.
But pretty interesting to see that math play out in real time.
I mean, again, it's kind of crazy that like Castlevania, like twice as many dollars were bid on it than Cana, which you
Hmm.
know we were kind of thinking were maybe 1-2, but not necessarily separated by
Like
that
that
much.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people were definitely more keen to spend money on adding Castlevania than they were Cana, even though,
Yeah.
still a
And
decent amount of
double.
people added Cana. Yeah,
And then you look at that, even like, and it's double from what people were paying for Silent Hill, but they
exactly.
were also paying probably less per bid
Yep.
for Silent Hill, right? It's like a 2-to-1 versus
Yep.
3-to-1. Like, it's interesting to see the breakdown and how that all plays out. But I'm surprised to see Pokemon Pocopia on here. It's I know it's coming out soon, like next week, soon. I still don't know what to do with this game. I think people are higher on it now. I still don't know if I would want to bid on it for Fans Critic, but I think maybe people are getting swept up in it. So it's an interesting. Um, this last week, the numbers kind of followed almost exactly the same way it did in that other week. So like people have picked up on it. They're still again in the same order: Castlevania, Kenna, Silent Hill, topping the charts.
Yep.
Almost with a very similar breakdown. And Pokemon Pocopia is still there. Maybe one I didn't mention from the state of play that is bears mentioning that did show up here, I think in the sixth spot, is Star Wars Galactic Racer. So I think the
Mm,
one thing is we've seen this a couple times now, and they're confirmed that 2026 is their release date. I think in our Blue Sky post we were skeptical. You know, just because they say it's 2026 doesn't mean it actually will come. Um, Clearly, at least 100 people believe that it will.
yep,
They're putting in bids on it. I probably would still avoid Star Wars Galactic Racer. Um,
same.
yeah, yeah. So there's interesting movement there. I think it's pretty clear where people have been putting their dollars. We obviously did that whole tier list last episode where we were kind of demonstrating where our thinking was with regards to some of the lesser known titles, where you're probably going to extract more value, truthfully. Maybe less guarantees, but maybe some more value for where your dollars are going to be spent. So yeah, like we're not outside of Darwin's paradox, we're not seeing very many kind of smaller titles being showing up on these lists. So
Not really. And I think like, yeah, this is, I think this is a perfect illustration to break things down week by week like this at really seeing what's happening that week in the news, right? And so like we
mhm.
had prior to that first week, we had a Nintendo and then or a Switch Direct or whatever. And then, this prior to the second week, we had a big, blowout, well received Sony State of Play, and all the games, added understandably kind of are
Yeah,
flowing from that. And then, this most recent week is just literally just a spillover from that State of Play, like people that didn't add from the first week
sure.
when they're at their first opportunity, everybody's like catching up on stuff. And it really shows, though, getting back to our show topic, I think more than anything is that when you're adding games, there's going to be time. We all get into these situations where we want to add games after a big showcase because sometimes they may just be announced or whatever. But that is the absolute highest price you'll ever pay for a game is right at that
Yeah,
point when everybody is excited about it and trying to add it. So I guess that's just I don't know, it just illustrates that you have to keep that stuff in mind
yeah, you're gonna
when you're putting your
overpay.
bids in. You're
Yeah,
overpaying, exactly. It's like trying to, add your favorite sports team's player at the trade deadline. You're overpaying at
yeah,
that point.
you're overpaying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or at, the
it's
first day of free
interesting.
agency. Yeah.
Listen, everybody out there, they should be adding titanium court anyway, right? Like
They
the fact
should.
that that's not higher on this list is kind of crazy. So,
Yep.
people need to go out and do that this weekend. Anyway, okay, that's gonna make it up for our hype check. Let's now go over to Pixel Prognostications.
Let's do it.
Pixel Prognostications.
Okay, number of this is another busy month. These months, like it doesn't stop.
And there's been so much that's pushed out of March already, John. It
I
feels like
know, I
we had
know.
half a dozen games that got delayed out of March.
Just delayed into April. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start it off with none other than DLC. World of
Yeah.
Warcraft Midnight. I don't even know if we can make an educated guess here, but I need this to do well, so you know where my bias is going to be. But why don't you kick us off, Marcus?
Yeah, I actually don't know. Do you recall off the top of your head that this is this is probably cheating, but I actually don't remember what the last World of Warcraft expansion. I don't know if I can quickly look at it.
Dragonflight?
No, that's
Was
not
it
what it was called.
Dragonflight?
I don't think so.
No,
It doesn't sound within. The War Within.
maybe. Yeah,
That was, yeah, August 2024. So it
yeah.
scored,
Dragonflight was 2022. Yeah.
yeah, had 32 total reviews. I don't know how many of her top critic, and it had an 85.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I haven't heard anybody talking about this, but then again, I think Awesome Dave is the only person that I know that plays World of Warcraft. 82. I have no idea.
I'm gonna, that's fine. I'm gonna go 84.
Okay.
I actually think it'll hopefully land in the middle.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim EX. This game, I think, also has a demo. Uh, Apparently, it's doing some stuff a little bit differently than the first one.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'm more encouraged by this game than I was earlier in the year. I
Okay.
wasn't high on my draft list, but I'm going to say 83.
Okay. I was very seriously considering both adding it
Mm-hmm.
and counter picking it in
That's
drafts.
crazy.
I
What?
know. Like
What?
different leagues, like I think it was Super League that I was like very
Okay.
considering adding it to deeper league, and then there wasn't that much to choose from in terms of like counter picks in the one
Okay.
league, and I remember thinking I might counter pick it. So I don't really know what to think about this. I don't think that it's 83. The previous game is like mid 70s. I think even the game of the
Yeah, I
year
didn't do so
edition
well.
was
Yep.
78 maybe. Uh let's say 78.
Okay. I'm going to stick with where it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an interesting next one. Marathon.
It feels like the narrative is turning around a little bit on this game.
Sure.
It really okay, so um I'm going to say 80.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say I could go with, I thought you were going to go a little higher.
No.
I was willing to go to
It's still a
81, but I
multiplayer.
don't want to, I'm not going to go over you on this.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to go over. I'm going to say 78.
Okay.
I'll stick to my guns. Okay, Planet of Lana 2.
Right.
Um, this is a tough one because I really don't know how to anticipate whether it's going to outperform the original. I'll say it's a slight improvement from where the first game was. I'm gonna say 82.
Hmm.
First game scored an 81.
It did. I just looked it up. I have this in one league, Super League, I think. I'm gonna take the under. I'll go 81.
81.
Yeah.
Okay. Pokemon Pocopia.
Yeah.
You can start us off.
I have no idea, John. Like
I don't know
this is
either.
so like not only is it a weird kind of spin-off game. I don't know Nintendo. I've barely even seen what this game looks like. 78?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put some distance between us. I think yours is probably the better pick. I think that's probably a safe assumption. I think that's actually like probably where it's gonna land. I'm gonna use the Dragon Quest Builder like narrative and stuff,
What
and
is
I'll say
this? What is
82.
this game? What's the gameplay of this game?
So it looks like so it's Pokemon,
Yeah.
but there's a farming aspect to it, I think. But there's also like, from what I understand, okay, listen, full disclosure, there was a Treehouse event today on this, like a Nintendo
Okay.
Treehouse event, and I did not
Okay.
watch it, so I
Okay.
actually still don't know. But you know, the the story is that the developers working on it also, I think, um work on, I think it was Dragon Quest Builders.
Okay.
Let me just confirm that before I put that out there. And those games famously were quite
Mm-hmm.
well.
They were. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They actually worked on Dragon Quest Builders 2 specifically, and that game scored even higher. They scored an 85. So I mean, I'm not saying it's going to recreate it, but if they can capture some of that magic, put
Yep.
it with an IP of Pokemon, game looks cute as hell. I've pre-ordered it. I'm probably going to
Oh,
play it.
okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, next up, Fatal Frame 2. I don't know. These are hard.
Yeah. It's your turn, right? Yeah.
I believe so. Um, I don't know what
This is a
the base.
this is right. Crimson Butterfly remake. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to find out what the original score is. I'm not big on these. Like I know that some of
Yeah.
our friends are like have been big on it, but um, I'm not big on these. The original was an 81 on Metacritic. I don't know. I'm gonna say 77. That's a complete guess.
Yeah. I go in 75. I don't think it
Oh, even lower.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Ooh, this next one's a good one. Monster
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Stories 3. This was high on my draft list because I think this was a solid one.
Okay, me
And you're up
first though.
first.
I
Yeah.
will say well, I don't think Monster Hunter stories don't do that good, John.
No,
They,
the second one I
they
think got a 81.
yeah,
Or no, that was a DLC. They do like they're pretty consistent. Okay, well this one actually is high 70s. I thought it was a little higher
80,
than that.
80, 81 was the second
81?
game. Yeah.
Okay. What was 81?
And
They're not.
the first
They're
one
not
is a
rocking
78.
the world. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's go 80.
Right. Split the difference. Okay. I will go over and say 81. And the last one, another hard one, Crimson Desert. Oh, I have to go first. God damn it. Crimson Desert. Hate this game.
Yeah.
This game is the bane of my fantasy critic existence. I'm going to say 77 again. I think this game has a lot of range
Yes.
from everything I've read. I've done a lot of research on this game from everybody that previewed it. It is hard as hell, which I
Okay.
think could actually work in its favor,
Yep.
as long as it doesn't get in its own way and is too finicky about it.
Yep.
I think it's going to come down to the gameplay because the game looks nice, looks very good. Seems like it runs well, all that stuff. But the gameplay is going to be whether people find it finicky or like this really interesting challenge.
And it's funny, like I could see, I do, I agree that there's a big range, but I almost think that in that range, it won't be in the middle of it. It's either going to be kind of on the low end
Yeah,
or on the high end. It's not going to
yeah,
be anywhere
yeah,
in between.
yeah. I might be
Uh,
playing it safe with a 77. Yeah,
yeah, I know,
sure.
and I'm going to end up picking. So what did you say? 77? I'll say
Yeah, I
79.
said,
But I don't think it's
okay.
going to get a 79. I think it's either going to be
No,
85 or
80,
72.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, what a tough little game
Yeah.
to judge. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious what other people think about Crimson Desert. Again, add us at Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Be curious
Yeah.
to get people's thoughts as the month approaches and that game starts to,
Because like
get
John, this
talked
could
about it.
be this Crimson Desert. It just
Yeah,
struck me. This could be this
Kingdom Come
year's
Deliverance
Kingdom
too.
Come
Yeah,
Deliverance too. Just
you
hit
didn't even
me.
have to say it. I knew
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying before you said it. No, absolutely.
We've never
Where we
talked
all
about it
expected it to
this,
be a
but
low,
yeah.
yeah, a
Yeah.
low 70, and then it's like, here's a high 80 for your efforts. Yeah, it's hard. It was hard. It's hard to read it. So yeah, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a
Hmm.
fun one to watch. Well, that's everything. That was a long one. Had a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Yeah, we did
So
it.
that's exciting. Yeah, yeah, that'll do it for us. That was Hype Factor episode 18, where we looked at money management. So never thought we'd say that. So Marcus, as we wrap up here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
So you can find me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79, and you can find me on my other two podcasts that I do. First is Tiny Game Chronicles, a podcast that I do with my good friend Michael every other week, where we discuss a tiny, usually or almost always indie game. And then the other show that I do is called Brothers from Another Mothership. I do with my good friends Ron, Matt, aka Nagachaka, and Quag, and that's a monthly show, and we talk and argue about video games. So that sounds interesting. We'd be happy for you to check that one out as well.
Lots of arguing. That's great.
Lots of arguing. Yeah.
Uh, and as for me, you can find me at John32 on Blue Sky, also in the BFAM and Tiny Game Chronicle Discord, but also the Fantasy Critic Discord if you're ever looking for us in Division 6 specifically.
Yep.
You can also connect with us at Hype Factor over at Blue Sky and X. You can send us questions, comments. We'll incorporate those into our episode. Please reach out. Let us know what your strategy is when it comes to making bids, and what you think Crimson Desert will score
That's
next
right.
month.
Yeah.
And finally, if you've liked what you've heard from Marcus and I, consider giving us a positive 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. Always much appreciated. And as always, until next time, get hyped.
Remember, the information provided is for entertainment purposes only. Hype Factor does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any advice or predictions offered. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are solely responsible for any decisions you make based on the information provided. We strongly encourage you to fantasy critic responsibly. And remember, this is just a game, and in no way impacts your status as a gamer. Hype Factor cannot be held responsible for any damages resulting from bad picks, drops, or overall Fs on your season.